So I was driving back from swimming training just now. I was listening to a podcast, like a Bruce Lee podcast, and we were talking about he was talking about like contradiction, the genius of contradiction. Basically, Sam Evans, he talks about this too. He was saying something like acting, unacting, unacting, acting. All this philosophy crap, and I was just thinking like, yeah, it makes sense. Like it can be applied to life. Like for example, like I was thinking about this example. It's like you can't be too egotistical sometimes. Sometimes you gotta be very humble, and sometimes even if you're very humble, you have to have the ability to be very egotistical. You can't be towards one extreme forever. Like, oh, you label yourself a humble person, but sometimes there are some times where you need to use your ego for the good of humanity, for the good of the people, for the good. Because if you're humble all the time, you might just get taken advantage of. And yeah, people will gladly take advantage of you. I know this from experience. So you gotta use your ego sometimes. And if you're too egotistical, then you gotta be humble sometimes. Because if you're too egotistical, that's another extreme. People will use that against you too. They're like, oh, this guy's egotistical. I can easily beat him. And yeah, it goes both ways. Like other examples, like being a introvert or extrovert. Like you can't be too introverted. People would think you're like crazy or something. And you can't be too extroverted. People would think you're annoying. You have to be both. You gotta be both. You gotta be both to the point where they can't label you. They can't. They'll be like, oh, is this guy an introvert or is this guy an extrovert? Like, my friend thinks he's an introvert, but I think he's an extrovert. Like, you want them to think that way, because you position yourself like you place yourself in a position that they can't label you. They can't say, oh, he's this, he's that. I like to be labelless. Like you can't label who. You can't say I'm like stupid or smart, or maybe I am stupid, but you can't say I'm introverted. You can't say I'm extroverted. You can't really say I'm egotistical. You can't really say I'm humble too, because like I can be both whenever the situation needs it to be. I'm balanced. I know when to be humble, and I know when to be egotistical. I know when to be introverted, and I know when to be extroverted. You gotta have the ability to be both. Tate says this. He says you gotta be able to hold a baby in one hand or something in one day, and kill a person in one day. I forgot exactly what he said, but something along the lines. You gotta be capable of violence, and you gotta be soft sometimes. You gotta be tender. You gotta be like, I don't know what word I was gonna say, but you gotta be tender sometimes. And yeah, I think that's how life should be, the yin and yang. I really believe in the yin and yang. Like I don't believe in extremes. I believe, conservatives and Democrats, whatever that's happening in the US, I think both are right and both are wrong sometimes. But the two needs each other. The two need each other. And I feel like we're fighting for no reason. Like what are they even fighting for? Like for what? Like just because they disagree on things? I think we should focus on things that we agree on. And yeah, but anyway, I don't want to talk about that. Don't really know too much about it. But yeah, you have to use the power of both. If you're too extreme on one side, you neglect the power of the right side. That's why I really appreciate it when my dad like says I'm doing something wrong. Like, yeah, I need like an opposite view, an opposite viewpoint. And I really appreciate that when people give it to me, like say, hey, I think you're doing this wrong. I think you're doing that. And I appreciate that because it makes me think that, oh yeah, that's a good point. Even if it doesn't make sense, I still want to listen to it. Like maybe he's right. I mean, he has a brain and he thinks then I should probably listen to that opinion and think about it. But of course, at the same time, I'm like thinking, is this person trying to manipulate me? Is he trying to get me to make a decision? I don't know. But it's chess. It's a game of chess out there, and sometimes you gotta think. And maybe the paranoid survive. Only the paranoid survive, or sometimes you can be too paranoid too. So yeah, I always try to be in the balance. I know I'll never be 100% in the middle, but I always strive for the middle. I always strive for the balance. That to me is perfection. That to me is perfection. To be able to be in the middle. But I could be wrong, man. I could be just spitting bullshit. But I say what I say, and like I said, I'm documenting every single day. Just my thoughts, smart thoughts, stupid thoughts. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna share it as genuinely as I can, as I try. And yeah, some people might like it, some people might hate it. Either way, not really gonna be offended, or I guess I appreciate the good comments, but the bad comments come sometimes, and I'm like, I get affected by it for like 1 to 2 minutes, and I just like move on with my life. And I just think, well, this person, he doesn't have a profile picture. He has no subscribers, and for all I know, he could be a dude that dude or girl that is just had a bad day and probably depressed about their life. And yeah, sure, I'll be the person for them to vent their anger out. I'll be that person. So you're welcome. But yeah, the genius of contradiction. You need both. You can't be successful without the failures. If you don't fail, you can't succeed. If you succeed all the time, then people will be just envious of you or something. Like Michael Jordan says it, I failed time and time again, and that is why I succeed. And yeah, you need both. Whenever you think of a problem or you're going through something, just tell yourself, you need both. You need both points of view. You can't just have one. You can't be in an echo chamber. Then you just be brainwashed. And you just be like tunnel vision in a bad way. But yeah, I always keep that in mind. I always try to take all points of view and use my mind and think about it. And yeah, I think that's it for today. A bit tired now. But yeah, that's it for what date is it today? 24th January, 12:30 a.m. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.